Welcome, y'all, to Vancity Beats, Eats, and More.
Hey.
Yo, my name is Kazi. This is Marc Generoso.
Hello.
This is Season 3, Episode 1 of this show. If you were just tuning in and watching for the first time, in this show, we cover the music, food, and art scene of Vancity. And we talk to the people who create this amazing tapestry of creativity. And yeah, sometimes we cook, sometimes we chat. And today on the show, especially because we are with my dear old good friend Marc Generoso, who has been a major part of creating the Vancity dance scene from time. Also a fellow Filipino that I wanted to make Filipino breakfast.
Yeah.
Which includes Spam, garlic fried rice, which we made a little bit earlier. Hey-yo. And eggs. This is classic. It's called Carbs and Protein.
It's also called Spam Silog.
Okay, that is true. And I'm nearby a vegan supply store, and I found for the first time vegan luncheon meat. Looks like Spam, tastes like Spam, is not mystery meat. So, and we also decided we would make as well real Spam, just in case this didn't work out or we were just not satisfied. You know, gotta keep it real, gotta keep it Filipino.
Spam Silog, long silog, always with rice, always
Yes.
with egg, and then the ulam or the meat of the week. So, yeah, this is exciting, and it's gonna bring back some childhood memories.
Oh yeah. For me, it was be my job. Like it would be like first level was like cracking the egg and learning how to scramble, which is what we're gonna do. So while we're doing this, we're gonna be chatting with Marc. You know, he's one of my favorite Virgos in my life. What do I mean?
Virgos, what's up?
Yeah. What I mean by that, pragmatic, organized, extremely detailed.
Yes.
When I was requesting for Homeboy's bio, he was just like, how many words should it be? And then you went ahead and just basically wrote the description of the episode. Like, Marc, we'll talk about this, this, and this. I was like, oh, okay. This is what we want to talk about, Marc? I'll take your lead on that. But
Such a Virgo.
you know, on this show, we love to talk to people about their creative journeys, how they got started. And I guess my first question for you is like, you know, in order for us to understand who is in front of us today, like what do we need to know about who you were as a kid, especially you today as a super creative?
Getting out the gates right away. What do you know as a kid?
We just go in.
You know, I don't think I had much of a choice in terms of being creative to start, but I organically fell in love with it. I was part of a family band from the ages of 7 to 14.
Oh my God.
With
Did you play instrument or you sing or what?
I was the designated piano player, keyboard player, and I had to do the male vocals.
Ooh.
So we would do Fuji's Killing Me Softly, and I'd be the guy being like, one time.
Oh my gosh. And who else was in the band?
So my little brother, he was the drums, and then I have two stepsisters, both older than I am. One was bass and one was vocals, and together we were the Generoso band.
Oh, cute.
And we had matching danier leather, and we'd go to Filipino halls and perform for our titas and titos, and yeah, that was our thing growing up. I didn't really get to play outside. It was a lot of practicing. I think it was my dad's dream to be a musician.
Yeah.
And he just saw the potential in me and my family and said, you know, they're going to be the stars. But it wasn't our choice. And
Okay.
that was the thing.
This is like Jackson 5.
It was totally Jackson 5. So, yeah, I mean, we didn't get to play outside after school. It was go straight downstairs in the basement and practice. And so I was pretty sheltered. So it's pretty sheltered until dance came along.
Okay, which is like, did that happen during that time? Is this also like a Michael Jackson-esque story where your dancing abilities were also being used on stage for this family performance?
I do remember my very, very first dance at the age of 12. My older brother, he choreographed to Montel Jordan, This Is How We Do It.
Oh, yes.
But for the most part, it helped me with my musicality and dancing to the beat and my Filipino genes.
Okay.
Yeah. But I would say that dance would be the escape to finally evolve from that chapter of my life.
If you were to describe yourself in 3 words from you as a kid then, as a super creative, what words would you choose?
As a creative?
Yeah.
I would say I'm quiet, but I am driven. So driven to get the piano parts down and wanted to get it fast. And what would be the third one? I would say just natural. Felt like a natural. Yeah.
I love this. Sidebar, can you touch that and tell me if this is still frozen?
Nope, we're good to go on that.
If you want to bring over that Spam for me, that would be amazing. Gonna get a little bit of oil situation going. So, okay, then how did the formation of, essentially you stepping fully into dance come about?
Yeah, well, during those performing arts programs, I was just that really focused student, front of the class, teach me something, I'm going to get it as fast, and I'll be like, what's next, sensei? But then, there wasn't social media at the time, and I was quite young, so once they moved on from those programs, I was basically on my own, and mimicking dance videos, Michael Jackson, Smooth Criminal, Aaliyah, Are You That Somebody?
Oh my gosh, the baby crying. Such a classic.
Yeah, those videos that have the dance breakdowns, I would be the ones learning them and performing them in high school dances. And then I evolved into becoming the designated debut and cotillion choreographer around the city.
Okay, tell the people who don't know anything about debuts or cotillions, because it's so funny we're talking about that, because it's actually phasing out with the new gen.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, who's doing... The vegan spam falling apart! Stay together, egg. But anyway, please, yes, first off, explain what a debut is.
A debut is a big part of Filipino culture. When you are... when you turn 18, you have a big celebration at a hall or a gym, and there's lots of people, and there's lots of food, lots of performances, and it's basically a big wedding style, I guess, just for the if that's what you want. Not everyone wants that.
Yeah, there's a whole roasted pig situation. There's a buffet table usually. Friends, family, people from church, like the whole village comes out. I had a debut.
Oh,
yes,
please tell us more.
My motifs were red and gold. I had a red gown, I had a gold gown. So the cotillion, explain the cotillion part.
The cotillion is the dance portion, and it would usually start with something traditional, folk,
or a ballroom dance.
And then being 18 years old, you want to do something cool, so that the remix would go into something hip-hop.
A hip-hop cotillion!
Yeah, so I was actually choreographing all the ballroom and the folk stuff as well through research and mimicking, and then the hip-hop part would be my time to shine. So I evolved from high school dances to debuts and cotillions to club dances, and it wasn't a great start, to say the least. I would be performing, and there would be about 10 people in the audience, including the staff.
You helped also co-create a crew, and did this soon after emerge?
Yes, so out of that, I founded a crew called Flow Ethics, and that ran from 2004 to 2006. There was about 17, 18 members at the time. I really focused on the thematic elements of dance. I think I fell in love with story, themes, and concepts. And so every time I was tasked to come up with a dance, it had to be something of some sort of theme or some sort of big finale. So I vividly remember Jojo Stu and I at the Tim Hortons on Hornby and Nelson, and just chopping it up and saying, if we were to dance together, what would we do? What would that look like? And I came up with the skeleton of Pinocchio. So the theme was like puppets and drawstrings. We performed it for the love of it, and it made such an impact on that show that we were just excited and jazzed to work together again. And that led to what I feel was OTI's calling card, which was a theme called 4 Elements. And that was 4 of us. Jojo was air because his house was light and flowy. Stu was earth because his breaking was grounded. I was fire because I was really into crumping at the time, and so my style was very spontaneous and erratic.
Yeah.
And then we would always like to call on a 4th guest, and at that time, a popper and waver by the name of Denny Kang. He was really dope and just really suited the role for Water. And so that was something that we really worked on, and even in terms of audio engineering and getting voiceovers. And it was a 7-minute dance.
Wow.
4 people, giant stages, and it was just the 4 of us carrying that stage, and we got to perform in San Francisco and all over Western Canada. And I think that's when we knew that we had something here.
Can you describe for us, especially current gen, younger gen, like what was that time like, the dance community in Vancouver? How would you describe it from your own perspective and your experience?
For me, it was a very magical era. It was the pre-social media era boom.
Yes.
So there was...
Which means what? Like, how were we connecting and communicating back then? How were we finding out about events?
By going out there, through flyers, through word of mouth, through...
Physical flyers!
Physical flyers, hanging out at Robson Square. I think Facebook was around, but it wasn't used like today. And YouTube was in its very essence.
Okay, so, and like battles? Like, what was the...
You know what? There was...
scene yet?
I think there wasn't, if I can remember, there wasn't a lot of crews back then. Top of my mind, Fresh Groove,
Yeah.
It's first and second generation. NON was just starting.
Really?
It's well, it's now, it's 22,
yesterday was
right?
their 22-year anniversary.
Yeah.
Shout outs, NON, Never
Yeah.
Never.
So that's
Yeah.
around 22 years ago.
Yeah.
Groovy Gentleman,
Oh, yes!
Stone Fox, and
Yes.
OTI.
Over the Influence.
And I don't
Yeah.
think there was other... There were some groups on the periphery, but those were really just the main players in the city performing. So we were crossing paths a lot and doing collaborations.
So you use those 3 words, quiet, natural, and what was the third one? When you were
Focus.
And focus as a kid.
Yeah.
What 3 words during that era of you describing, golden era of OTI, Stone Fox, Fresh Groove, Groovy G's?
Yes.
Like, what 3 words would you use to describe yourself then?
Organized. I was the engine that kind of kept the group going. I was definitely... can I say outside the box, dash.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
That could be one word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Organized outside the box and just wide-eyed, just excited about the scene. It was my introduction to these industry professionals that I would go to Harbor and watch through the window and be nervous to take their class, and them commanding 20, 30 students at a time, and getting to perform with them was just coming from not doing that. I didn't appreciate it at the time, but definitely talking about it now, just to have that opportunity to be in that echelon with these guys, it's meant a lot. And I definitely heard it coming up. It's like, people will come up to me like, you must be a good dancer. I'm like, how would you know? It's like, if these guys are rolling with you, you must be good.
You got the official cosign.
I got the cosign.
What would you say was really challenging back then, either for you personally or for like the community, the dance community at the time?
The only challenges that we're really facing was just the time crunch and bringing people together. But I would say just more of a direction. It was the wild, wild west, Everyone had their own identities. We weren't following groups that we saw on YouTube in LA. We were doing our own thing and just having a direction and a goal. I mean, I would have loved to take that OTI era much further, but we were also just being grateful in that moment. And why work harder? Look at us, we're killing it. And me, like, having this complex of like, we could do more. And I was so inspired by the Jabberwockies and watching them on their come up, and I felt like we could have been something in that direction of just going and doing bigger performances. But I think also just respecting everyone's process and energy, and they got to where they are because of the balance that they have with life and family, and not everyone wanted to just make that their full-time thing.
What would you say was like your greatest ambition at that time when it came to dance?
I wanted to be like a dance director, for sure. Not just on stage, but also on camera. I think I was doing all of these dances and these themes and putting so much of my passion and heart into it, and then the live performance would happen, and then poof, that's it, on to the next thing. So I wanted to immortalize all of that hard work, and I think that's how it segued into the film industry, of wanting to immortalize all of this hard work and focus on something that the audience can really attach themselves to in terms of characters and plot and all that stuff.
Oh my God, can you tell which one's real and which one's fake?
No. Maybe? No.
Good thing we're not particularly vegan.
Yeah.
Okay,
Look at all.
quick sidebar. Do you want like a fried egg to go on top? To
Yes.
make the actual silog?
Yes.
Which
yes.
is what silog means, right? It's like with the egg.
So,
Let's just finish that egg.
Filipino terminology. Spam silog. Spam is what we're having. Si is short for sinigang. And then log is short for itlog. So it would be spam, fried rice, egg. And you can interchange that with whatever protein you're having. So you can do long silog, longganisa, fried rice and egg, or hot dog silog, whatever silog. It could be anything, right? So yeah.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to crack the next one? For me, porfi. Nicely done. You and I met later in life. We
Yes.
met after I had moved to Toronto. I was in my university era. Can you
Yes.
tell us a bit about that era of your life?
Yes. So at around 2009, I had left OTI, and I was feeling a little lost. Like, a big part of my identity with the dance scene was with these guys, and I had teaching. I was already teaching it. At one point, I was teaching at 5 studios in 1 week, just different cities: Langley, Surrey, Richmond, Vancouver. And one of the studios that had watched us, that we toured, was a studio called Vibe in Nanaimo.
Oh, yeah.
We thought it'd be a good idea for me to come and teach dance there. So I would take a ferry every week, an hour and 40 minutes each way. And it was a lot, you know. It was very time consuming. And with these kids, in trying to inspire them, I said, if you are going to give it your all for me, I'm going to give it my all for you. And they really took that to heart. And they would be practicing on their own and coming early to practice. And it made those ferry rides way easier. It really did feel like I was magically transporting to a magical island.
And the crazy vision was?
Well, the crazy vision was converting their live performances and readapting them into short dance films.
Called the DVC
Yes.
project.
Yes.
Which stood for?
Dance Video Collection.
Ayo.
Actually, that started as a farewell goodbye, because I think I was going, I'm going to do the audition route. I'm going to go to LA. I'm going to audition for Michael Jackson's Cirque and Jabberwockies and all that stuff. So as a big farewell, I decided I'm going to film them, to immortalize them and feature them and make them stars of their own dance. Well, that whole process was so rewarding. Got a standing ovation that I was like, I took these dance films, 10 of them, and I used them to apply for film school, and I got in. And it gave me a 4-year extension where I would learn professional film practices while teaching the kids and turning their dances into films for another 4 years until I would ultimately get my bachelor's in motion picture arts.
They were so cool. I remember getting invited to come to Nanaimo for the big screening.
Yeah.
And that was so special. It was like in the theater, the big theater in Nanaimo, all the kids, all the parents. There was a live performance as well, but it was like the screening of the films that were made. And like, I was so impressed. They were just high quality. You could tell that the kids and the families were so into it. And it was just like, it was really special to witness that and to see how you made such a mark on these young people. And what's even crazier to me is the fact that like some of these young dancers are actually who make up some of the best dancers coming out of our West Coast region right now. Shout outs to you, for real. And to every teacher who's like willing to invest in the next generation. Food ready, shall we?
Ooh.
You know? Do you do the thing where you like...
No.
No?
It's about portion. So I cut it, get the ulam, get a little bit of egg, and make sure I have all 3 components going on.
Okay, fine. I'm gonna take a page out of your book, but this is amazing. I haven't had a Filipino breakfast probably in years because I haven't eaten Spam in years until this thing showed up, and I posted it on IG being like, "Yo, should I cook this on the show for the next episode?" Sorry, I just did that, but.
I do ketchup after I have it raw. Here, cheers. Cheers.
You're like, I'm not gonna let you touch it. Wow.
I'm singing the national anthem in my head.
Which is what? Sing it.
I can only sing the little bit part about Bayang Magiliw Puna sa Tinangala Arab. I don't know.
I want to talk about film. Like, so,
Yes.
So from here, and then you graduated school, you know, and now you have film. How did that happen, and how did that feel for you, making that transition?
I thought with these dance films that I could take that story element and go back to dance, but go to the film industry and learn those professional film practices.
And did you feel like there were other parts of you creatively that you could express through that medium versus dance? Like, what did you discover about yourself in that, I guess, new exploration?
Well, as an assistant director, there's a lot. You are directing, but you're not directing the main actors, but you're directing all of the background. So if you watch any of your favorite shows and there's a lot of people in the background and they're moving, I would be that guy directing all of those people, sometimes 40, 50 people within a 5-10 minute span. Being a Filipino, being a minority, there are not a lot of us out there. In a crew of 160, 200, it's probably 4 or 5
People of color,
and the rest are Caucasian. And don't get me wrong, everyone's respectful and everyone is nice, but in terms of really maximizing your potential, you know, it's really hard to see that route unless I just grind for another 10, 15 years. And I'm also very young looking.
Oh, darn. Being Filipino and looking so young till we're 60.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. You know what I mean? I think as for predominantly for women, it's like it's a great compliment, but for a man, especially in kind of a foreign space like film, you want to be taken seriously. So looking young is synonymous with you have a lot of life to go, and I have a lot of aspirations, and it's not a matter of skill, but a matter of connections. And the time is always a restraint, you know.
What would you say is like important to you now, like at this stage of your life? Especially, I mean, like COVID was such a time for so many of us to slow down.
Yeah, and everyone took it differently, you know. People had hard times, and respect to that hardship. But for me, at that time, in a way, COVID was a blessing in terms of being able to slow down and really just connect more with your environment than just what you're doing next. You know, like 5% slower is my mantra, whatever that means.
Oh, I like that. Whatever you're doing, even if it's already slow, just even go 5% more.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would like look back on your younger self and that you would, you know, based on what you know now, that you would say to that version of yourself?
Oh, yes. Like, slow down and appreciate what you have. When we talked about all of the things that were going on with OTI and the scene and film and the dance videos, I was taking on so much that it was only after the fact, 10, 15 years later, where I was like, wow, I did all of that. And while everyone was giving me my flowers, I was like, thank you, but...
Already thinking about the next.
Already thinking about the next, you know what I mean? And so I know it's not ideal to think about, you know, shoulda, woulda, couldas, regrets. But for me, I really want to put forward in trying to be more present with everything, whether it's work or just the nothingness, just walking around, listening to the rain, all that stuff.
Yeah, I would definitely tell my younger self to chill. Like, come on, you know? Or just like, I think about how ambitious I was.
Yes.
Like, I think the way that I'm ambitious.
You were very ambitious.
Right? I mean, that was us. Like, we would talk about our dreams and just like hype each other up and get so like riled up on, especially my era of Toronto. Like, I was so ambitious. And there's so much juiciness and like the feeling of being alive when you're just really just present in one single moment, because you actually don't know if that's all you'll have left, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, like to try to hang so tightly onto a very specific vision can be actually like the cause of so much suffering. Yeah.
But there's also these side quests that make you stronger on the go, and like having conversations with people, having conversations with strangers, you know? That will still, it may take time out of your schedule, but it'll definitely make you feel more like you're connecting with the environment, you know?
Since we are building this archive, like for the current and next generation to know about your personal contribution, like what would you want the current and future generation of the dance community to know?
Being someone who was able to produce, direct, and edit 33 dance films in a 4-year span, and 2 theater shows, and teaching at 3 studios, and getting your degree all in those 4 years. Somebody who's very, very ambitious and very organized. Somebody who even though I'm known as somebody with a vision, that vision wasn't about me. It was having people come together and create that vision together. So even though I was kind of leading the charge, I didn't really associate it as my work. A good saying that I like to go by is stand behind your work, not in front of it, you know?
What does that mean to you?
It means do such a good job that the work takes the spotlight and not who's creating it. If it's so good, then people will dig deeper. You know?
Cool.
Somebody who really put storytelling and themes and concepts into the minds of like the younger generation. Like I know when I first started taking class, Jarek's first class was a Star Wars theme. Everyone was C-3PO. That was my first experience.
Oh my god!
And that's kind of the seed that now I'm doing these themes and groups like Brotherhood and 247. they were doing themes like that. And not to say that, you know, I had a hand in what they're doing is amazing, but that idea of thematic dance storytelling.
Locked. Hey, once again, my name is Kazi. This is Marc Generoso. We have been broadcasting live on the unceded ancestral lands of the Musqueam, the Tsleil-Waututh, the Squamish First Nations, what is colonially known as Vancouver, BC, and what we call Vancity. This has been Vancity Beats, Eats, and more. Bye.